Are you playing Dragapult VMAX but you're looking for something a little bit different? Well, then check out this one. It's Dragapult VMAX with Gengar. Ooh, spooky. Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we're going to take a look at Dragapult VMAX featuring Gengar. This is a very exciting way to play Dragapult. Maybe you're a person that doesn't want to play the traditional version, maybe you're getting a little bit sick of playing with Malamar. Well, this time we can play it with Gengar and potentially get ourselves a couple of wins with it on the ladder. We'll take a look at the list in a second, but before that we just do a little bit of a plug for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, then please consider doing so. Only about 35% of people who watch our content are subscribed. It's free, you can just click the button, there's no harm in doing so. And if you want to unsubscribe, you're more than welcome to do so as well. It takes 2 seconds and it really means a lot. So thank you very much if you have done that. We'll take a look at the list in a second and see exactly how Gengar with Dragapult VMAX is going to work. So if you've been playing the game of Pokemon for longer than 2 minutes, you'll know that Dragapult VMAX is one of the best cards in the game at the moment. There's a lot of this floating around on the ladder and in the Limitless tournaments that have been going on for the last couple of weeks or so, over the last couple of months. Max Phantom for 130 damage, 2 Psychic Energy, we place 5 damage counters anywhere that we like on our opponent's bench. Super, super strong. So this attack is super good, obviously, but sometimes it can be a little bit awkward to manage because we need to make sure that we play things like Zigzagoon and all that kind of stuff to make sure that we can get the knockouts that we want. This version of the deck is going to use those damage counters a little bit differently because we're going to use Gengar to try and manipulate that a little bit. As often as we like, during our turn, we can move 1 damage counter from one of our Psychic Pokemon to another of our Psychic Pokemon. So that means that we can potentially start moving damage counters off of our Dragapults to try and conserve them a little bit, make sure that they don't get knocked out as quickly as they could potentially otherwise, because one of the big problems with these kind of decks is that if you're manually attaching and you lose those attachments, it can be a big problem. Now the thing is, we can use this as many times as we like during our turn, so if a Pokemon doesn't one-shot us, they don't do 320 damage, then we can just move all of that damage off. And no matter how hard our opponent tries, they will not be able to take a knockout on Dragapult. So we're going to try and use that. We've got a 3-1-2 line of Gengar. It's a very interesting kind of, a very interesting setup. And one of the cool things as well is, if we're taking energy off of, damage counters off of our Dragapults, we could potentially put them onto something like a Giratina. We're going to give up a prize, but we're also going to get some extra damage counters with Distortion Door, bringing this Pokemon back from the discard. So it's kind of an interesting way to play this deck, and it means that we can run a little bit of a thinner Dragapult VMAX line because they're not going to get knocked out as much, or at least that's the plan anyway. The rest of the Pokemon line is probably not too dissimilar to lots of other lists that you've seen playing Dragapult in the past. Things like Mewtwo and also Mr. Mime are pretty common at the moment. The Oranguru works pretty well as well. Again, the rest of the list is very similar as well. There's obviously a couple of changes that we're going to talk about. Things like Rare Candy being in the list. There are 3 copies of this card to try and get our Gengar into play. But apart from that, it is a relatively standard list for Dragapult. We've got an extra Pokemon Communication in here. We're a little bit lacking on switches, so our Jirachis are going to be a little bit awkward. They might get stuck in the active every now and then, but we do have a much thicker supporter line. We've got 3-3-3, Cynthia, Marnie, and Research, because obviously Cynthia is very good when you've got rare candies in decks. Sometimes you've got a hand where you're missing a couple of the pieces. Maybe you've got a rare candy but you don't have the Gengar, so you want to shuffle that hand away. You don't want to burn it completely. If you use Marnie or Research, then obviously those cards are not going to be accessible for you, so Cynthia does give us access there. We've only got 1 Boss's Orders, but since we are using Mind Report Mewtwo, we will be able to get that back relatively consistently. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. As long as we've got a Gengar and a Dragapult VMAX in play, then we should be good to go. I mean, this is such a cool card. I don't think this is a good version of this deck. I don't think that if you're going to play Dragapult, you should expect to be winning games with Gengar as often as you would otherwise, but it is really, really fun to play, and when it works, it's almost impossible to lose. Like, how many Pokemon do you know of that can deal 320 damage without breaking a sweat? There's not that many out there, so definitely a good little deck to play with. If you can afford it, it's definitely a fun one. But hey, Dragapult VMAX, if you can afford to play it, you're going to be winning games on the ladder anyway. We'll take this one out and we'll see whether we can get this combo to work. So here we go, out onto the ladder. Thank you very much to friend of the channel, Sableye Stefan, for getting this video recorded for us. It's always good when people are willing to help out. This is the first time I'm seeing it, just like you. We'll see whether or not we can get our Dragapult and Gengar combo going. The best thing about this game is that we are going to be going first. So we've got pretty much all that we need in terms of Pokemon here. We've got a Jirachi, a Oranguru, and a Dragapult VMAX in hand. We don't have access to a Gengar, nor do we have access to a Dragapult V just yet. We've got a Quick Ball in hand, so we can search for one or the other. Just depends what we think is more valuable. The fact that there's a Rare Candy in hand, though, is pretty solid. We've managed to find Mysterious Treasure there as well, and another research, so we could actually potentially find all the things that we need. We can find ourselves a Gastly with this Mysterious Treasure, and then if we choose to, we can discard either the Oranguru or our research here. Probably the Oranguru. I don't think we realistically need that too much. Although we could Stellar Wish and grab ourselves a card here. This is actually an interesting one. I don't think we're going to need Tool Scrapper, so we could grab that. The Rare Candy also might not necessarily come up again, so we could potentially Quick Ball that away. It's a bit of a risk, but if it works out, then it's not going to be a problem at all. We'll grab Dragapult V, we'll attach to it, and that's pretty much all that you need to do on a turn like this. As long as you've got an attachment, you should be a-okay. The Oranguru here we could use to put the Professor's Research on the top of the deck. That way, if our opponent does get a Marnie, then we are potentially going to be able to keep it. I hope our opponent doesn't Marnie us. We've got a Dragapult VMAX, we've got a Gengar and a Rare Candy. This is crazy stuff. And we know we're getting the research off of the top deck, so please no Marnie our opponent. We should be able to get everything set up as early as turn 2 here. It's ironic though. Watch this. We're gonna get it all set up, and then we're gonna research into no switch out. So this Jirachi's gonna be stuck in the active, or no energy, so we can't attack with it. But this is crazy good. We've managed to find all the pieces that we need, and this is really, really positive for us. I'm very excited to be able to get this going. They're going to retreat into Rillaboom V and then attach. They're going to use Forest Feast here, and this is going to be able to search out of their deck a couple of grass Pokemon to put onto the bench. They've gone for Venusnivy and also Eggrow here, so we've held onto the hand. We've got the Rare Candy, so we can get the Gengar going, and we've got the Dragapult VMAX, so this is an absolutely perfect start. And now we're going to research and hopefully find a switch in an energy. We found them both. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? We can attach this energy to Dragapult VMAX, and then Stellar Wish will find ourselves Mysterious Treasure. We don't really need to find anything just yet. We could potentially Quick Ball away a Marnie or something like that to try and find another Dragapult. Or if we're worried about our Gengar getting knocked out, we could potentially use the Quick Ball to find another Gastly. Primate Wisdoming here is not a bad idea. Again, put the research on the top of the deck just in case. Unfortunate though, we didn't see that Horror Energy before. Now, of course, we are going to have to hold the Quick Ball and the Mysterious Treasure because we can't afford to lose that research. The 130 damage going onto the active. It looks like we're going to be placing lots of those 50 damage counters onto the Eggrow as well. 10 will go onto the Venusnivy just in case. That 10 damage will make that a 2-hit if it does come active. And the extra damage counters on the Eggrow are obviously going to make it a little bit easier for us to be attacking. It looks like they're going to switch here. And they're going into the Eggrow. And fair enough, they're probably going to use Super Growth to try and evolve their Grookey. It's a bit unfortunate for us, actually, that we didn't knock out that Grookey, and it's interesting to note we could have done that. We had the Mysterious Treasure and the Quick Ball that could have put that, could have put the Giratina into the discard pile. We might have need to have maybe Dedenne as well. That might have been a little bit awkward. Maybe my eyes are just getting a little bit too big here. Perhaps we couldn't have done that, but that's okay. It looks like that Grookey is going to evolve into Rillaboom this turn anyway, so I'm not too stressed right now. They are also evolving into the VMAX, and that's pretty good for us, because that means that we can potentially put this VMAX in range of a one more attack from our Dragapult, which I'm very excited about. And now it looks like they're just grabbing that basic Rillaboom out, or the baby Rillaboom, whatever you want to call it. We've got pretty much everything that we need here. I'm thinking that we're probably going to go for a... If it were me, I'm going to quick ball away the Marnie. I'm going to grab myself the Giratina, and then I'm going to grab the Mysterious Treasure, discarding the Giratina. We'll get rid of something like the... we'll get into the new Dragapult as well. So, going quick ball for the Giratina, and we're going to Mysterious Treasure that away, you would think, and then find ourselves another Dragapult. That way we can attach an energy to the Dragapult. We can actually play down the Giratina now, scoop it up, and then research, and that will mean we get some extra damage done. But it looks like no, Stefan's just going to go with the attack. Fair enough, there's nothing much that we realistically need this turn, and maybe it is better to just hold the hand, you never know. But I would like to have got those extra little ticks down. Always good to do extra damage in these kind of situations. We could have potentially put ourselves in a spot where we don't need to worry about that, what do you call it, Shaman Prism on the bench. It looks like the manual attach is coming down onto that Rillaboom VMAX, and I think we're going to be seeing some extra energy going onto the Row Eggs here. They'll hit us for 150 with Calming Hurricane. We could just move all of that damage off. Put it elsewhere, which would be pretty solid. They're going to get knocked out next turn, and we're going to be in a position where we just need Gust to win the game. So maybe we do start looking for that research so that we can find boss's orders. But no, they're going to go for a Marnie here, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but we don't know what we're drawing into. These 4 cards could be anything. Got Haunter, Dedenne, Jirachi, and Marnie. So none of these cards are great, but none of them are bad. We can Dedenne-GX if we'd like. To try and look for some more cards. The best case scenario for us is that we find boss's orders, because that's pretty much the only thing we're going to need to ensure that we win the game the turn after this one. There's the Calming Hurricane. They will heal a little bit of damage. They'll heal 30, but they'll take 20 because of the Horror Psychic. And we'll be able to move all of that damage off onto other Pokemon here, which is really, really strong. We'll go with the Marnie, and that's a fair call. We've managed to find 5 cards here. And there's a couple of things that we could potentially do. I think we're going to go for the D-Door now. We'll get some of those damage counters sorted out. There's going to be a good place for us to place some damage from our Gengar. We can now click on Life Shaker. We can, sorry, I almost said Life Skater there. We're going to move some of this damage from the Dragapult onto the Giratina. Now we can either put 120 of it here and make sure that our Giratina doesn't get knocked out, or we could, or our opponent could just scoop, I guess. That's also fine. Well, it's a shame we didn't actually get to see the combo in full flight, but I think we had that game pretty much wrapped up already. There was no way that they were going to be able to knock out our Dragapult VMAX. It was impossible for them to do any more than 300. They couldn't get to 320. That's the fact of the matter. They just couldn't get there, so there's no way for them to knock it out, and we're just going to keep moving all of that damage off and keep recycling that Giratina no matter what they do. So we managed to show off that combo. It would have been better if we could have got the game going a little bit longer, but I think you get the gist of it. Like I said before the gameplay, this is not the best version of a Dragapult VMAX deck. Absolutely not. I would rather play one of the other 2 versions if I'm looking to be more competitive, but this one's definitely a lot of fun, and it's super gratifying when you get it to work. Like we saw then, you can just make it so that your Dragapult is impossible to knock out. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, I've enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed that gameplay. I hope you did as well. If you have enjoyed it, then please consider subscribing. There's a button over here that you can click. Over this side, there is also a couple of videos YouTube thinks you like, as well as a playlist down the bottom for more Rebel Clash gameplay. Thank you everyone for coming along. We appreciate your company, and we'll see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.